SpongeBob SquarePants is one of those classic, timeless ideas. A sentient, fry-cook sea sponge who works at a restaurant owned by a crab, whose daughter is a whale, and lives in a subaquatic pineapple with a meowing snail. It's no wonder such a universal concept captured the world's imagination for 268 cartoon episodes, 3 theatrical movies, a Broadway musical that reveals SpongeBob would look like Ed Grimley if he was a human, and of course, an official SpongeBob-themed Toyota Highlander, because when you hear the word Highland, you think of the sopping wet depths of the ocean. SpongeBob has been on the air for 22 years now, so he must be doing something right? Right? Probably, but we'd rather talk about the opposite. You know, the bonkers, the embarrassing, the unbelievable bits of canon that Nickelodeon wishes would disappear from the zeitgeist entirely. Like But Ugly Martians. We're talking about SpongeBob's canonical love of stolen panties, the X-rated secrets hidden in an official SpongeBob game, and the sexy Bikini Bottom Sir Mix-a-Lot crossover that nobody demanded. This is CanonBall. SpongeBob himself may be an innocent little underwater angel, but the people behind him are very human, and humans are known for pulling some dastardly, confounding crap. For example, number 5, Iran's SpongeBob censorship and bizarre bootlegs. Iran has an intense love-hate relationship with SpongeBob SquarePants. On the one hand, they think the show is so depraved, they go frame by frame drawing dresses onto characters in bikinis. Okay, granted it's more of a purple blob vaguely shaped like a dress, but that's a tremendous amount of work just to make the characters look like tragic victims of underwater pollution. Why not just add a CGI fence over Sandy for the entire episode? That's what they did when they wanted to cover Will Ferrell's bulge in Talladega Nights. See? Much classier. Weirdly, it's not the maritime nudity Iran's censors object to, it's the mere existence of bikinis. Hence this clip where they tried to make Sandy look less perverted by making her go topless. Such is Iran's fear of bikinis that, according to the SpongeBob wiki, and we have no reason to question their authority on the subject, some Persian dubs even censored the word bikini from the name Bikini Bottom. So now the characters are all just in some anonymous bottom. Almost definitely David Hasselhoff's.
Take it easy back there, fella.
And yet the Iranian people love SpongeBob so much, networks will splice footage from the show into music videos. And honestly, some of them kinda slap. But the apex of Iran's sponge-related weirdness is SpongeBob in Tehran, an all-new, all-illegal 43-minute movie currently available for purchase and streaming only in Iran. The film was made in 2017, but appears animated on a circa 2001 PlayStation 2. The plot is about SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward taking an underwater plane to Iran to find a missing cook who can recreate the Krabby Patty formula. Why is this cook in Iran? We're never told, but judging from his photo, I'm gonna guess the answer is drug-related. SpongeBob and friends spend most of the movie stuck in traffic and trying out Persian food at different restaurants. So far, it sounds like your typical Middle Eastern vacation, but then an underwater, furry version of Sherlock Holmes shows up to help him find the cook, only to take SpongeBob and Patrick to a soccer match instead. After the match, the cat detective casually mentions that, oh yeah, he found the cook at some point, and the movie abruptly ends. That's how every movie should end, right? An animal in a trench coat announces they resolved the entire plot. Off camera. Roll credits. Nickelodeon had a nice run, but SpongeBob belongs to Iran now. Besides, Nick kinda lost the moral high ground back in 2003 when they created this canonical abomination. Number 4, SpongeBob and Patrick, perverted panty thieves. Only 2 SpongeBob SquarePantses have officially been banned by Nickelodeon, according to popular animation news blog, The New York Times. The first is called Quarantine Crab, about SpongeBob's workplace being quarantined after Mr. Krabs is infected by the highly contagious clam flu. Nick pulled the episode from the schedule in 2020 because of everything I just said. But some countries went ahead and aired it anyway. Keep in mind that this was made in 2019, before we all learned that shooting your tongue at someone infected with a powerful virus is unsanitary to say the least. The other banned episode is Midlife Crustacean from 2003, where Mr. Krabs joins SpongeBob and Patrick on a boys' night out in an effort to stave off the grim specter of mortality. After some lame activities, Krabs is about to bail when Patrick says,
"I guess you're gonna miss the Panty raid."
As if he knew that he's in a cartoon and not an 80s sex comedy, Mr. Krabs asked to clarify,
"You're talking about raiding their dressers for their underpants, right?"
"Oh yeah."
Instead of immediately calling the cops, Krabs enthusiastically joins in on the depravity. So here we have three beloved cartoon characters plotting a sex crime. You might expect the wacky twist to be that Patrick doesn't know what a panty is. Like, maybe he misheard the word patty? But no, the writers take us down a dark, psychosexual journey into hell. The trio grab a ladder and head off to raid some panties. They go in a house, find the
Jackpot!
Oh yeah!
and celebrate, but they're too loud, and the owner of the house comes into the room and, she sure looks a lot like Krabs. Because it's his mom.
Mother?
Krabs, or Eugene as Mother Dearest calls him, turns to his comrades to ask why they didn't tell him it was her house. Their chilling response,
Why didn't you ask?
there are many layers here, each worse than the last. When they're breaking in, Patrick and SpongeBob say,
"We're panty professionals."
We score here all the time.
so Krabs was tricked by his employees into stealing his own mother's frilly panties, an action that is 100% sexual and something these two goons routinely do. This is the kind of thing that would make Sigmund Freud point at the screen with a trembling finger, his mouth frozen in a silent scream, blood streaming from his ears. This scene would appear in a movie only as a serial killer's origin, or a nervous virgin finally coming out of his shell. And the most disturbing part? This still isn't the most inexcusable sexualization of the sponge. Number 3, the SpongeBob Burger King Big Butts controversy. SpongeBob and fast food ads are a combination that makes perfect logical sense. He's popular, he works in the industry, and if you squint, he kinda looks like a small portion of fries. Doing fast food ads starring Sir Mix-a-Lot also makes sense because he likes big butts. In 2009, Burger King apparently couldn't pick between these two valid options, so they said screw it and went with both at the same time. This resulted in one of the most cursed commercials ever to hit the airwaves.
I like square butts and I cannot lie. Squid and sea star can't deny.
Oh, but this unholy crossover between SpongeBob, Mix-a-Lot, and Burger King's creepy The Purge-esque mascot isn't limited to a single ad. No, the company also went ahead and produced a full 2-minute, 22-second music video for their SpongeBob-themed cover of Baby Got Back, complete with generous shots of young ladies shaking their square pants, as the king raps about how horny he is for SpongeBob's most iconic feature. That said, for a self-described connoisseur of square butts, the king seems strangely unaware that most of these are rectangular. But hey, as Mr. A-Lot says,
Booty is booty.
meaning that yes, Sir Mix-a-Lot would definitely bang SpongeBob, in case that was a question that ever entered your mind, when it was pointed out that using sexualized versions of an innocent children's character to sell hormone-laced beef to kids isn't the most ethical thing ever. Nickelodeon and Burger King insisted that the ads were aimed at parents. That argument was slightly undermined by the fact that the meal being advertised is called BK Kids, and the ad specifically mentions that you get a toy with each one. But we still have yet to hit the darkest depths of this canon. Number 2. In case you forgot, there's a surprising amount of suicide jokes in this show. For a cartoon that's ostensibly about the happiest goddamn sea creature ever to exist, SpongeBob SquarePants relies a little too heavily on suicide humor. For starters, they had an entire episode about Squidward, who's basically Charlie Brown meets Eeyore in terms of sunniness of disposition, getting depressed and doing stuff like sticking his head in the oven to take out some brownies, or standing on a stool and hanging a rope from the ceiling to lift a bird cage. Another episode had a weird aside about the guard at a medieval times type place, seemingly trying to find the courage to off himself with his own spear. He ultimately decides against it in a way that may have been intended as hopeful, but certainly doesn't come off that way.
Someday, but not today.
And then there's the episode where Mr. Krabs spends weeks mentally torturing his nemesis, Plankton, until he decides to lie down in the street and wait for a car to run him over. He spends practically the whole last third of the episode embracing death with tiny but open arms, while Krabs laughs at his pain. SpongeBob writers just really like suicide jokes, huh? Maybe spending 2 decades writing the same dumb characters isn't as cool as we all thought. Damn, SpongeBob writers, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
Great, glad to hear it. Okay, we gotta end it on something a little lighter. Number 1, someone hid SpongeBob porn in an official video game. SpongeBob has starred in over 50 video games, from the one where he teaches kids how to type, to the one where he beats the crap out of April O'Neil. One of those games is Nicktoons, Attack of the Toybots, for Nintendo Wii and PlayStation 2, which features an adorable looking pink bear called Mr. Huggles. But if you use a hack to unlock the game's camera and look on the back of Mr. Huggles' box, you'll see that it contains some very non-adorable messages, like, "I'll kill your parents," and "You'll never sleep again." Though honestly, no sleep is a pretty hollow threat for a 6-year-old hopped up on sugary cereal. And anyway, that Easter egg is downright wholesome compared to the ones found in SpongeBob Super Sponge for the PlayStation 1. When the company that developed it went under, their source code was sold and released online, allowing nerds to dig through the game's mysteries, the most benign of which was a file called SpongeBob shitlist.doc, which consists of a frustrated developer listing all the that needed fixing, like how the jellyfish are awful, and how some enemies look like flavored ice cream. Then come the kinkier, stinkier mysteries, all of which were named some variation of the word naughty, like SpongeBob's spiked codpiece here, or SpongeBob exploring Patrick's starfish, only for Patrick to betray him by clapping Sandy's cheeks. Hey, can we get some of those shapeless purple modesty blobs over here? Can I get one? Thank you. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of CannonBall. Let us know in the comments if we missed any of the darker, more sinister crevices of Bikini Bottom, and try not to dwell on that imagery.